Thanks for joining us here on Chronon. I'm Noelle Bello. It's been an eye-opening week of the Derek Chauvin murder trial as the prosecution called several medical professionals to the stand, including the medical examiner who did the autopsy of George Floyd. Here to help us take a look back at how the trial is unfolding is our local criminal defense attorney, Paula Canny. Paula, always a pleasure to have you here.
Hi.
From my standpoint, it really did seem like another strong week for the prosecution. Would you agree?
Absolutely. So when you prosecute a case, you have to prove to the jury the elements of the crime. And so today, this past week, that's just what the prosecution did. In the first week, the prosecution set the scene. They called civilians of all ages, of all walks of life, young people, old people, black people, white people, who were universally horrified by Derek Chauvin's treatment of George Floyd. So that set the scene. Then earlier in the second week, they called multiple law enforcement professionals, including the very chief of police who fired Derek Chauvin, to say that Derek Chauvin's use of force was outside of the policies and procedures. So they had all these law enforcement people show that his conduct, was excessive and not in accord with law enforcement protocols and procedures. Then they submitted multiple witnesses of doctors to say that the illegal and excessive force used on George Floyd is the cause of death. So they met. Today they finished, or this week they finished proving all the necessary elements. You can't just prove that Derek Chauvin did a bad thing, okay? They had to prove that the bad thing that Derek Chauvin did caused George Floyd's death. And that's precisely what those medical professionals' testimony did. Even after the, defense attorney tried to cross him up and be like, oh, well, what if he had, fentanyl is in system or this or that, or he had these, medical issues. Each health professional, each doctor said, nope, cause of death was the acts of Derek Chauvin. So they had a really strong week. You're right.
Yeah, the knee on the neck, that's what they kind of kept saying. That was kind of that's what did it.
91 pounds of pressure of knee on the neck. No, the testimony was riveting as the one doctor who was the breathing specialty described how you could see him have breath and then literally run out of oxygen and the life pass from him. So no, they did a really good job this week. The defense is going to present their experts next week. I'm sure they'll present somebody that says that the use of force was reasonable. There is this whole cottage industry of former law enforcement professionals that I don't mean to sound so cavalier, but it is that cavalier that they will routinely come in and say that, in their opinion, the conduct of the officer was reasonable for the circumstances. And I'm sure they'll try and present some doctor that says that, I don't know what they'll say, that the cause of death was, as they've been arguing, a drug overdose and these not, known heart conditions. But I don't think any of those things are going to fly, because what the government has to prove, what the prosecution has to prove is, at least as it relates to the third-degree murder, whoever, without intent to affect the death of any person, causes the death of another by perpetrating an act eminently dangerous to others and evincing a depraved mind without regard to human life is guilty of third-degree murder. So the other thing that is important is one of the doctors testified that it's obvious in looking at that video that Derek Chauvin, throughout the time that he had George Floyd on the ground, was also bending his left hand back as a pain infliction technique, and also that the Chauvin didn't double lock the handcuffs, and you can hear in the video the ratcheting. So when you don't double lock handcuffs, when a person moves, it causes the handcuff to get tighter. So that is super painful too. So I think that the prosecution has clearly met their burden to prove beyond a reasonable doubt third-degree murder.
Well, I do feel like those medical experts that we talked to, both the pulmonologist and the one who did the actual autopsy of Floyd, I felt like I was almost in medical school. All of the detail they were going into about even just, they talked about slicing the heart and how they have to go through all of that to look and really find the reasoning for death and the cause of death. So I was kind of taken aback by all of the information we all received over the last several days.
Well, I mean, that's really what happens in a trial. I mean, one of the things that's so funny to me is that I was horrible in science. So I was like, oh, I'll go to law school. And now I've learned so much science in the last, 40 years. So I do know body parts, and I have absolutely had to learn science. And so, I mean, the other thing that I think is really interesting about this case, though, is that the appearances in the courtroom. And this is an unusual prosecution because the Minnesota Attorney General is working in conjunction with the Hennepin District Attorney's Office, and they have lots of lawyers on the prosecution side, whereas on the defense side, there's just the one lawyer representing Derek Chauvin. I mean, the reality is, even though there's just that one person there, he has all those lawyers and then some hiding out, doing all his background work. But, the appearances are, they're going to argue that he's just being picked upon. But yeah, I mean, every time I do a trial, any lawyer who does a trial has to learn all the underlying science. And they also had a crime scene, people come and testify, but you have to learn every single thing about the case so that you can do an effective cross-examination when you're cross-examining witnesses, or so that you can prepare your witness so that they can be an effective witness when they get cross-examined. So yeah, I've learned all this stuff, in the course of life. And every time you do a trial, you learn all these new facts and stuff. It's amazing how much I've learned.
Yeah, it's pretty fascinating. You mentioned that when the defense goes to call witnesses, they're likely going to start calling retired police officers or this group that will try and say that his use of force was necessary. But a lot of people are really talking about this term, the blue wall, and saying that it's cracking, basically, as more law enforcement professionals have kind of come up to speak about Chauvin's actions. Was any of that surprising to you, seeing this blue wall kind of starting to crack?
I mean, yes, in some ways it is kind of surprising that the chief of police and all of the other people that he worked with, got up and essentially universally condemned his conduct. So yes, it is interesting. And I mean, it's a good thing. We should all be concerned with truth rather than keeping the truth hidden just because it's a fellow police officer or something like that. We should care about truth. I mean, but the interesting thing in that regard is, this is not Derek Chauvin's first incident in the using excessive force. There are at least 10 prior complaints against him. So it is interesting, or whatever term of art you want to say, that he didn't have a significant disciplinary action and that he was still on the job after having been accused of and found in prior instances of using excessive force. And
so on the job and training other officers.
Correct. He was the training officer. So what you know from that fact, though, is I think most likely Derek Chauvin isn't going to testify. He has a Fifth Amendment right not to be compelled to testify against himself. He can't be compelled, but you think, oh, maybe he'll testify and explain his side I think the reason he won't be called is because the prosecution is allowed to impeach him or question him about all his prior acts of violence towards arrestees. And right now that hasn't been admitted into the trial, but I think if he testifies, it proverbially opens the door to those facts. So yes, it's good that these officers and people, you know, testified truthfully, but it's super unfortunate that in these prior instances, disciplinary action wasn't more compelling and forthright, and that he is still on the job, which, you know, there's this whole other backstory about the power and strength of police unions, because the police unions, and as you know, here in the city, is quite a strong union. So when administration does attempt to take action against an officer for excessive force or making a racially motivated action, that kind of thing, it is very rare. It's almost impossible to terminate an officer, in part because of the complexity and the cumbersomeness of the sort of administrative process regarding, you know, discipline actions. So that'll be an interesting thing to see how that is dismantled going forward.
Right. I'm curious, and our producer was actually curious about this as well.
Okay.
We're wondering if the prosecution, I know we say that they had a pretty strong week, but we're wondering if the prosecution may have taken a bit of a hit with the confusion over the recording of Floyd. There was a recording that was played, and they saying either I ate too many drugs, and then it was I ain't take no drugs. We're just kind of curious if that at all kind of shakes up the prosecution's strength here.
Well, I mean, with all things, trials nothing's perfect in a trial. That's just the nature, because nothing's perfect in life, you know? So if you think you're going to put on a perfect case, you're crazy, because no case is perfect, because we're dealing with human things. In terms of, because I did listen, you know, I'm not sure what he said. And even if he said I ate too many or I didn't eat any or whatever he said, one thing we do know is that he could talk and he had a little bit of breath, and then he has no breath and he's dead. And the medical professionals say that the amount of controlled substance in his system was de minimis. I mean, because he also had Suboxone in his system, and Suboxone is the drug that you take when you don't want to take opiates. So, I mean, you can, and the other thing is, in terms of jurors and things, even though jurors aren't supposed to judge the case until all of the evidence has been presented and they've been instructed by the judge and the arguments have been presented, when people sort of want to proverbial hang their hat on something, that's one of those things that a juror who maybe doesn't want to convict Derek Chauvin for whatever reason could try and hang their hat on that statement. But I think overall, given the abundance of evidence that's been presented, I don't think the statement, no matter which statement is made, is critical or determinative to the prosecution's obligation to what they need to prove. And I think that they've proved it. But again, there's one other thing I wanted to say. I felt bad last week when we talked about punishment. The punishment for second-degree murder is up to 40 years in life, and the punishment for third-degree murder is up to 25 years. But it's in a range. So, and the other thing is, I think the prosecution's going to have a tough time establishing their elements of second-degree murder, but I think that they've proven beyond a reasonable doubt thus far. But again, the defense can try and chip away at that this next week. The elements of third-degree murder and the general punishment range in Minnesota for that crime is roughly 15 years.
Okay. You know, you mentioned that Chauvin's defense attorney, that he's kind of the only one up there with him, right? We also noticed no one else is really showing up in court to sit in Chauvin's seat reserved for like family or friends. There is like one unidentified woman. Do you think that the jury takes any of that into consideration, that no one is coming to support this man?
Well, so that's a really good question, because years ago, back in the day, before, you know, everybody took such an interest in watching trials and stuff, I actually went and watched Dan White's trial. You know, remember Dan White is who killed Mayor Moscone and Harvey Milk. And so, but that courtroom, it was crazy. Hardly anybody was there except Dan White's family. His wife came, his parents came, his extended family came. They came every day, and people connected to Harvey Milk and George Moscone didn't come. And I think that impacted that jury hugely in not finding Dan White guilty of murder and only finding him guilty of manslaughter. I mean, they changed the law a little bit. So to go to that question as it relates to Derek Chauvin, they have drastically limited access to that courtroom because of COVID.
Right.
And again, all of the people in the courtroom are masked. So the jurors can't figure it. They just see people in masks. So I'm not sure that they can even discern who is who, because they're sort of all masked up. And I think only one person from George Floyd's family is allowed to attend. And I'm not sure that they know that the one empty chair is the Derek Chauvin chair, because I think each side was only allotted like one person because of the safe distancing rules because of COVID. Right. So I'm not sure it will be so impactful in this trial. I don't think they know that he's not supported.
It's interesting how COVID is playing a bit of a role in those optics.
It is. I mean, it's super interesting because, you know, here all over the Bay Area, all the courts have different protocols. In San Francisco, for the most part, they've built these plexiglass covers so you can see through the person. They've done it in San Mateo. I mean, each courtroom has a little bit different logistics and different rules, so that last week I had to do a case, and the officer wanted to testify wearing a black mask over his face. And I was like, no way, because you have to see the person. And it's interesting, in this trial, there's no masks on any witness. They are social distance, but there are courtrooms in the Bay Area that require if the witness wants to wear a mask, they can wear a mask, but they've gotten these clear masks so that the jurors can see their face, because it totally doesn't work if you're seriously, you know, like this, you can't see their face, you can't really get a sense of their facial expression. So no, that wouldn't work.
And as a juror, you know, I think that's kind of the one thing you do, is you go and look either at the witness, of course, who's speaking, or you look to the defendant to see what type of reaction they're making when these, you know, things are being said. And so right now, Derek Chauvin has been wearing a mask the entire time. So you're you're losing half his face. I mean, you see his eyes, of course, but you're losing half his facial reaction.
Right. I mean, that is a great point, because theoretically, the jurors are tasked. There's a jury instruction that says to them, hey, look at the witness. Don't just listen to don't just listen to the words they're saying, but look at them. Look at how they appear. Look at how their demeanor, that kind of stuff. So for the witnesses on the witness stand, because they're not wearing masks, it's a regular thing. Right. And to just look over and see a masked defendant, it is super challenging, because who knows what's going on behind that mask. I actually didn't think of that. That's a great point. But, you know, the other crazy thing is no matter how a defendant reacts or a person reacts as a spectator, you know, it sort of goes to show that if you kind of like the person, then you'll have a sympathetic reaction to their reaction, and if you don't, then it, you know, then you don't. But right, I hadn't even, I mean, it's a plain mask. I mean, I'm sure they probably wouldn't let him wear a mask that says like "Find me not guilty" or something like that. That'd be pretty.
Right. Any
or Blue Lives Matter.
That's what I was going to think. One of the ones like with the blue line or something.
Yeah.
I guess going forward, we're wondering how much harder does the defense have to work now, basically, to convince the jury that Chauvin's not guilty, and what do you see as potentially the most surprising thing they could kind of throw out there to try and make him look less guilty?
Well, so I think, like I said, I think that what they're going to do is they're going to call a use of force expert and a policy and procedures expert. Okay. And what this policy and procedures use of force expert is going to be is he's going to be, again, this is just what I think they're going to do, is going to be a use of a force expert who's a retired law enforcement officer, whether it's a detective, captain, anybody, but somebody in law enforcement. And then what they're going to say is that the fundamental flaw of what the prosecution has done is they've broken things down frame by frame. And you can't do that in the street. You can't do that in the field because nothing happens in a frame by frame way. Everything happens in real time. Everything happens in real time with an adrenaline response. And so they're going to have somebody who says, with an adrenaline response, with all these people around, with the fear for himself, for many other people, that in real time, what he was doing was what he was trained to do and appropriate to the situation there. So that's the first thing that they're going to do in testimony. In terms of argument, what they're going to argue is that the prosecution hasn't proved beyond a reasonable doubt that what he was doing, again, because when you prosecute a case, you have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt each of the elements. And so the second-degree murder charge requires proof of an intent to kill. I don't think Derek Chauvin intended to kill George Floyd. I mean, that's just, and if he did, that's just horrible and just unbelievable. But I think that he really did a terrible thing to George Floyd. So the defense is going to argue that he didn't do an act eminently dangerous that also evidences a depraved mind. That's why they're calling, because that's the element for third-degree murder. Okay. So that's why they're going to call somebody to say he was just doing what he was trained to do. Okay. And then, you know, the jurors are going to have to decide. So I think he'll either get convicted of third-degree murder or the manslaughter. I just don't believe he's not going to be convicted. Oh, and the other thing I wanted to say that I think is important is when they were cross-examining the medical examiner, it was disclosed that the medical examiner, the pathologist, has testified in 2 federal grand jury proceedings. So that's a pretty good indication that that Derek Chauvin could well get indicted for federal civil rights violations. So the interesting thing about that is that, remember back to Rodney King some 20 years ago, they did a state court case. The police and even, you know, those officers were all found not guilty in state court, and then they initiated a federal prosecution. There is already an active federal grand jury underway considering prosecuting Chauvin for, you know, civil rights violations. So I think that's interesting too. All
right. Well, Paula Canny, as always, thank you so much for joining us. We'll catch up with you again next week, hopefully, if you're available. We'd love to continue doing these.
Okay, me too. All right, have a great week. Thank you. Take care.
You too.